One of my favorite trail cam strategies is to actually have a trail camera at just about every other stand location. And what that translates to on 40 acres, I typically have 8 or 9 stands. If that was fully wooded property, maybe up to 11 or 12. And that would equal 4, 5, or 6 trail cameras on that 40-acre parcel. And when you have defined habitat improvements where deer are positioned to run parallel to your property borders, then using trail cameras and positioning them between travel corridors, bedding areas, and food sources at water holes, mock scrapes that you're trying to create in that entire line of movement, you can use a trail camera to capture 95% of the bucks in the area. I find extending out to a half mile to a mile in any direction. It works that well, and if you think about it, if you have those parallel habitat improvements, you're connecting those improvements. It's like casting out a 40-acre net, a 160-acre net, a 20-acre net, whichever size parcel you have. Those parallel habitat improvements will let you know the bucks that are in the area, help you capture a high percentage of them. And let's face it, if you have great improvements and they're all lined and they're all matched up and they're all complementing each other, then when you cast out that net, when those mature bucks travel at night within their 3-mile home range, they're going to find your improvements, they're going to turn left or right, follow your property improvements on your land, and you've got them. Now you have their attention and you can hunt them. What I like about having those trail cams then at your stand locations is that there's a number of factors and benefits for doing so. Don't let anyone tell you that those trail cameras spook deer. People spook deer. Now, a trail camera that's not hidden will spook deer. A trail camera that's infrared, where you have the red bulbs, can spook deer. But if you place your camera, I find at least 6 feet high. If you place your camera on a tree that's wider than the camera, and if you finally hide the profile of that camera so that deer looking from the side can't see that camera. Right here we have a drop off, we have the conifer behind it, so even if a deer is traveling by on this ledge back and forth and they're looking at that camera behind me, then they have the full canopy, full hardwood behind them, logs, and that deer is not going to notice that camera. We never have deer look up at this camera when they're coming through here, and that's the whole idea. Now, having that trail camera and having all that being said, having that trail camera at your stand locations is a huge benefit. Not going to spook the deer, and the intel that gives you is highly valuable intel. For one, it tells you what type of bucks are around that stand location. Is a non-core buck that's coming from 3/4 mile away, might not come till the middle of the rut or maybe in a late season food source, or is it a core buck that's there all the time? He's in and around your camera locations and you should get on him right now. In that case, like for our Exodus trail cameras, they have their cell cameras coming out this March, and I can't wait to have some of these cameras in some remote locations on my remote rut stands, because that's going to give me a lot of intel. I don't have to actually go in there and remove those cards. But that being said, having these trail cameras at your stand locations lets you know if that buck is a non-core, core buck, and so then therefore the timing of when you should go in and hunt that buck. Now obviously the trail cameras give you a lot of intel if there's even a buck going by that stand in the first place. So I use trail cameras religiously, and especially these are the Lift 2 models where I have a 2-inch viewing screen, and I'll come to a stand like this, and this is stand A. I'll also have a stand B and maybe a C in mind that I've narrowed it down to, that have trail cameras maybe by them or maybe not. But I'll come to the stand option A, and it's the same wind as the other 3. This is my first one I want to sit at. I'll look at the sign in the area, and I'm not seeing any rubs or scrapes. And then I'll look at the pictures on that camera, and I'm not seeing any mature bucks that have moved through this spot. And again, I have some really high quality habitat connections where I expect the deer to travel on this bench, travel in front of the camera, and I'm going to capture 95% of the buck movement in this area, let alone the bucks within a half mile to 3/4 mile in any direction. So I'll look at that screen, not very many bucks, the sign's backing that up, and then I'm moving on to the next stand location. Now, if that stand location also has a camera, I probably won't look at it because I've narrowed down to that option. Great time to actually determine if this is a great stand to use or not, and it helps you be very efficient with your stand selections. Now, a lot of my access trails are going along the outside of a movement, and then I'm ducking in to that stand location, and I'm hunting in that stand location, blowing my scent back into my access. Now the benefit of that is I typically have 2 or 3 stands along that access. Doesn't matter if it's an interior woods road and I'm blowing my scent into a cliff, or if it's you're accessing from the backyard or of your cabin and you're going into stands, letting the scent blow back to your cabin. But typically you're walking past 2 or 3 other stand locations that may have a camera on them. And because you already have access trails there, because you're already accessing a stand along that route, then pretty easy, if you don't have the cell cameras, to just grab a couple cards, take a couple cards extra along, and change those cameras, change those cards on the way in and out of your hunt, and you're not duplicating your hunting presence and your hunting pressure because you're already walking by. You just duck in 30, 40 yards. So let's say I hunt a stand in the evening. I sit till dark. I'm going back out that same route. Then I'm changing the cards after my sit. All the deer are on the food sources. I don't have to worry about spooking anything in that spot until the next morning when those deer come in, so my scent's long gone. It's a great practice. And maybe I even go out a different location. So I actually take a different route out. I came in one way through a food source in the afternoon, knowing that deer are gonna fill that food source, and then I go out around, maybe I come in from this way through the food source, and I go back out around down this point and get out of this stand location, and therefore go by a couple more cameras on the way. Again, it's leading back to, you have a similar route to access your stands. You're taking a few extra cards. You can duck right into that stand location, get back, and it tells you so much about those individual stand locations, and it greatly can affect the quality of your set, the quality of the efficiency of your stand selection. And I hope that you try placing cameras at your stand locations this year. Most of my stand locations, if they have a trail camera, it's within bow shot. You can basically, from this one, you can shoot the camera. I think it's only 10 yards from the tree, maybe less. A lot of times I have a mock scrape in a situation like this, or a water hole. That camera is trained on those locations. Again, give me a great amount of intel. I encourage you to try placing trail cameras at your stand locations. It's an effective practice that I've used since literally the late 90s. With the advancements in blackout cameras, with high quality cameras that can last the entire season. We're up here on February 22nd. We haven't visited these cameras for a couple months. They're still running. They're still taking our video and pictures. And it's a great practice. It's a great strategy. Try throwing some trail cameras. I usually, again, place a trail camera at every other stand location. I encourage my clients to do that. It's been a very effective practice. I get a lot of great feedback about that. And I think if you try it, you'll enjoy it this season and enjoy those trail camera pictures and the strategy and the amount of intel that they can give you for every single stand location you have on your land.